Hello and welcome back. Survival Saturday with Johnny Tiger. Yeah, you guys saw this was Social Sunday, didn't you? Looking out the window. Um, that usually signifies two things. One, I got the date mixed up. Two is I'm going to talk a lot. Well, I am going to be talking for today's episode, but I am going to try to keep it as short as I can because Kitten is here in the background, and if I ramble on for too long, she's going to tell me I'm long-winded. So, the date is August 13, 2022, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about this topic of conditioning. I'm not talking about the push-ups, the chin-ups, the burpees, the weightlifting. I mean, those are great conditioning. Keep doing them. I honestly, uh, a lot of people have this idea that if you get too big, it's going to impact your martial art and your fighting ability. That's really only true if you were building your muscles kind of the wrong way, or you have to get really overly exaggerated big. Otherwise, for the most part, uh, especially when it comes to fighting, the bigger you are, the better. Uh, as I always said, big Bruce Lee running into small Bruce Lee, big Bruce Lee is going to kick small Bruce Lee's butt 9 out of 10 times, even though they're both Bruce Lee. But the big one is going to win. Because the bigger person, in addition to having the weight, also have more mass behind their punches. And some people say, well, big guys are slower. Not really. Not really. Especially when you are big and it's a lot of muscle, you are not necessarily going to be very slow. You might be slower if it's a running competition, but when it comes to punching and grabbing and wrestling and stuff like that, no, a big guy is not necessarily going to be slower. In some ways, they might even be faster sometimes because of how much momentum they can generate. So yeah, I'm not talking about that kind of conditioning. I'm talking about this conditioning idea that you got to bash your forearm into the other person's forearm. You got to punch the wall with your fist. You got to take a wooden roller and just roll it across your shin. You got to kneel on this wooden roller and let it press into your shin bone. And then you take this wooden roller and hit yourself up in the abs. That's the kind of condition I'm talking about. And while I have in bits and pieces touched upon inserting my thoughts into this topic before, I believe this will be the first time that I give you my honest opinion on this topic. Now, let me quickly say this that the key word is opinion. I'm just one guy. I'm a guy who's been training and fighting for 30 odd years, but this is still just an opinion. There might be another guy out there who's been training and fighting for 80 years who can say that he doesn't agree with me, and that's totally fine. When it comes to martial arts, self-defense fighting, the proof is in the pudding. That's one way to look at it. Right? If it's worked for you, it's worked for you. Don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. With that said, for the most part, what do I think of conditioning? It's kind of a foo-foo, gimmicky thing. That's honestly what it is. It's a way to get your student to do something that's going to take a long time, makes them see obvious progress. Because if you hit your forearm today against the other person's forearm, and ow, hurts a lot, and then you let the bruises heal, and then you do it again next week, ow, still hurts a lot. And then you let the bruises heal gradually. It does work, yeah. After 6 months, 8 months, a year, you'll still get bruises, but you won't feel that anymore. Like you do that hit, and just like, yeah, okay, I am Superman. I'm indestructible. I'm invisible. I got forearm of steel. Yeah, just don't actually believe that because that's a quick way to disaster. So it is a way to give your students something to work on that will take a long time, and also give them a kind of a measuring stick that they can see their own progress. So it's good for that. That's why I say it's a kind of a gimmick. It's really kind of gimmicky. Now, some people, especially if you are the if this is the first video you see of me, you may think, what's he talking about? How like this must be some weak, soft guy. He's not even in front of the camera. He's not even doing anything, and he's talking about conditioning is gimmicky, and it's no good. So probably just because this guy is too weak to condition. If you think that, then I humbly invite you to watch videos, other videos on this channel. Okay, I know there's a lot of them. There's about like 1,000 of them. But if you watch them, I guarantee you that you will quickly come across evidence that will show you I know what I'm talking about. And I have been conditioned to the guild. Right? In fact, this is kind of ironic that I'm here talking about conditioning is gimmicky and it's not really workable. It's not good. Uh, because I started out my life conditioning. Heck, the first lesson I ever got, Taekwondo. My Taekwondo sensei took me by the hand, told me, take off your shoes, and we ran the parking lot, around and around that parking lot, barefooted, until both of my feet were peeling and bloody, and I couldn't take another step. I had dirt and pebbles grind into my wounds under my feet. I was 8 years old. I was not even 9 years old at that time. So I'm no stranger to conditioning, right? He gave me a week or two to heal up, and then we did that again, and then we did that again, and then we did that again. The whole point, he told me later on, was to condition not my feet, but my mind. He said, I want you to learn, no matter how tired you are, you won't drag your feet, because it's when you drag your feet that your feet get injured. So no matter how tired you are, you will pick your feet up and run. That was the method in his manners. And then when I went through teenage years, I did Muay Thai. I did, and I mean, we don't even need to talk about kicking coconut tree, kicking a banana tree, or all that nonsense. Uh, and by the way, they do that because they have not invented punching bag when they were doing that. The tree were the closest thing to a punching bag, and eventually it became a good exhibition, a good way to put on a show. I've spoken to Muay Thai fighters, Muay Thai trainers that uh, promote this stuff, and when they're being honest, they'll tell you you got to know how to select the tree. You got to find a tree that is just the right firmness and right softness for you to kick. You don't just go and kick any tree. Don't try to go and kick an oak tree or an ironwood tree. You'll bust your leg. It doesn't work that way, right? So that's a little quick segue, a little uh, digress into that. So I did Muay Thai, I did Judo, and in Judo we have the condition by being thrown a lot. I did karate. Karate was a lot of conditioning, day in and day out, bashing my fist into the wall. If there's a even to this day, okay, even to this day, when I see one of those concrete pillars in the shopping center, I sort of get this little tickle in my mind. I want to go up to it and start punching it. That's how deeply I was conditioned, right? So, uh, like I said, I'm not a guy who never conditioned and is standing here telling you no good. I'm not the best, the most conditioned guy in the world, but I am really, really well conditioned. And you can see that in some of the stuff that I did in past videos, breaking stuff, punching stuff, hitting stuff. So now that we established that, why do I think that conditioning is kind of a foo-foo, gimmicky thing to do? Number one, because it takes time away from what you really should be training. If your goal is to become a good fighter, a good self-defense person, you're good at defending yourself, right? Just a quick note: the proper way to defend yourself is not standing there and say, "Go ahead, punch me in the stomach. I won't even feel it." That's not how you defend yourself. Okay? The best way to defend yourself is not be there when the punch lands. Right? That's the best way, which is a lot easier said than done when you're blind like me. But that's just me. So why do I say it takes time away from things you should be doing? If your goal is to be a good fighter, then you should spend your training time fighting, right? You need to spend time doing what you want to do, not just a piece of it, okay? Because while you are sparring, if you put these hours and hours of conditioning into actual sparring experience, I will guarantee you that you will improve way faster. Not to mention, when you're sparring, you actually do get hit. And that is when you condition. Okay, you don't stand there and hit yourself with a rolling pin or a broom handle or try to punch a block of ice to condition. You condition by actually sparring and fighting and get what you need to do out of that time. Number two, the whole science of conditioning is flawed. Why do I say it's flawed? Because a lot of self-defense instructor will tell you, okay, you need to condition because if you get into a fight and someone punch you in the face and you break down and cry, then you lose, right? So the whole point is you condition. So when you get hit, you don't even feel it. That sounds great. Okay, that sounds great. Like we can find a lot of people on YouTube, and no disrespect to people who show that they can take all kind of kicks and punches, and still they are laughing and smoking a cigarette. They don't feel a thing. That's great. That's their gimmick. Okay, let's put them in a real fight. Let's watch them in a real fight and see how much of that actually worked. What happened is you actually don't need to condition to not feel a thing when you are fighting. When we get into a real life and death struggle, a real fight, it triggers a fight or flight instinct. Right? We all know that. All kind of chemicals get dumped into our bloodstream from our brain because that's when our brain realizes, game on, it's time to do this or die. Which means one of the things that your brain actually turns off is a pain receptor. So even if you don't train a single day even if you don't condition a single day in your life, most likely when you're mad enough or when you're scared enough, uh, you won't feel that punch. Right? This is why there are a lot of people who've been stabbed before. And when you look at them, you're like, holy crap, this guy got stabbed like 28 times How the heck didn't he feel it? And a lot of time when you hear their story, that's what's going on. They get stabbed, and then they didn't realize they were stabbed until later. The one time I was in a conflict, and I got grazed by a knife on the side of my knee. I didn't realize I actually got cut until later. For your information, I never conditioned myself by cutting myself on the knee with a knife over and over again. Okay, I never did. I did a lot of conditioning, but I never did that. So in that moment of fear and adrenaline rush, you won't feel it anyways, which means you're spending a lot of time bashing your fist, your arm, your leg, your chest into hard objects, letting other people bash you with hard objects for no purpose. Number three, conditioning, especially done to a certain degree, once you start to get really good at breaking things with your knuckles and taking a lot of hits with your forearm, it gives you a false sense of superiority. It makes you feel that you can walk into a fight and cream the other person just by hitting them across the face with your forearm, because your forearm is supposed to be hard as steel now. Here's the news for you: your forearm is still forearm. It's still flesh and bone. You hit someone on the head with your forearm, it's your forearm that's going to break. You may not feel it breaking, but it's going to break. Okay, that's the thing. Um, I have two little stories I can share with you guys with regarding to how foo the whole idea of conditioning can be. The one time I was in still in high school. By this time I was like a karate champion. I was really good at karate. I was punching all kind of stuff with my fist. I was like almost had like indestructible fist in my mind. And this one time I got into a fight with someone in the hallway of this, and this was a guy who was geeky, a guy who didn't know how to fight whatsoever. I pinned him up against the wall, and took my indestructible fist and went at his face. The guy had a unopened can of soda in his hand, so in a panic, he brought that soda up between his face and my fist. My fist hit the edge of that kind of soda. The soda went flying, and when it landed, it exploded all over the place. Cool. I also couldn't use my right hand for over a month because I totally messed up all of my knuckles on the edge of that soda can. I could bust through ice cube, like ice blocks. I could bust through roofing tiles. I can break wood. I can punch stone pillars. I couldn't bust through stone pillars, don't get me wrong, but I was punching stone pillars, and I got my hand messed up on a can of soda because I hit it at the wrong angle, and I didn't even take into consideration that it was going to be there. The second story just happened like a couple of years ago. Uh, we were conditioning in class, and I was paired up with this guy who's really tall and rangy and bony. We were punching each other in the stomach, and I was having a good old time of it. Because this is my forte. Like I said, I've been conditioning for a long time. So punching me in the stomach, I don't really feel that much. And I can punch really hard when it's my turn to hit back. Well, except this time, I did hit really hard, but when I landed my punch, the pinky knuckle on my left hand landed squarely on the guy's hip bone. And that was it for me. I couldn't use my left hand to punch anything for the next 2 or 3 months because I totally messed up that knuckle. Again, I punch blocks of ice. I punch stone pillars. I break roofing tiles. All it took was a wrong angle at the wrong time hitting the guy on his hip bone to mess up my knuckle. So yeah, these two stories are sort of my personal proof that this whole conditioning stuff, it's really not as good as it's claimed to be. Number four, lack of real life examples. And what do I mean by that? Lack of real life examples. If this stuff really work, then football players would be doing that all the time. Then boxers would be doing that all the time, right? I just paused there a little bit because I got a low battery warning, so we need to wrap this up. But yeah, you guys get my point. Uh, when you look around, people who actually need to have tough bodies, boxers, UFC fighters, uh, competing martial artists, soldiers, police, they don't waste time conditioning their body by bashing themselves against heavy, hard objects. Some of them probably do it in their own downtime because they believe in it, but it's never been a proven training method for anything functional in this field. And last but not least, why conditioning is largely just gimmicky. Because you never really condition the part of you that need to get conditioned for a fight. For example, yeah, you condition your forearm, but do you ever condition your elbow joint? Very few people do. Okay? Very few people do. You condition your chest, and stomach, but do you ever condition your face? Probably not. Do you ever condition your balls? Do you ever condition your kidney? Do you ever condition your knee joint? No. Which means you are going to walk around with really tough forearm, really tough knuckles. And the moment someone punches you in the face, and you're going to think, I just wasted the last 20 years conditioning my forearm for no good reason. Oh, by the way, there's one little bonus reason here. Conditioning, especially overdoing it without taking extra supplement like calcium and vitamin, will lead to problems down the line. So, okay, you may be 60 years old and you can bust through a brick wall with your punch. Cool. But can you tie your shoelaces? Probably not. Okay? We only all come with one body. So please don't go out of your way to abuse it. Train it. Yeah. If you want to, like I said, you want to fight and learn how to fight. Actually fight and spar. But there's no need to go out of your way to punish your body parts like that. Thank you for checking out today's Survival Saturday. Um, yeah, I did say I was trying to keep it short. Well, I try every time. I fail every time. I'll be back again tomorrow for Sausage Sunday. Uh, Kitten and I, we are going to go on a little road trip somewhere pretty soon. So we'll let you guys know about it. Not sure when yet, but yeah, we'll let you guys know about it. For now, have a good night.